What is up, my fellow humans? Welcome to the Connect 0007 podcast, where human connection is everything. And I am your host, Thaddeus Sims. And first off, I would like to say happy Friday to you. I know some of you guys are ready to get this day over with. So go ahead, clock in, get them hours done. And if you listen to this podcast before you go to work, I thank you. Thank you very much. You are amazing. And if you're listening to it while you're at work, go ahead and do that. If you want to listen to it after work, go ahead and do that. But either way, happy Friday. So, fun fact, before we get into this, words are powerful. I'm just messing with you. That is true, but no. The fun fact is worms communicate by snuggling. I repeat, worms communicate by snuggling. And I'm just thinking if they don't snuggle, is it like they're beefing? Because I see a lot of lonely worms around here. So I'm figuring maybe they don't already had a group meeting. And, they're done. They're walking away. They're going back to their respective spots in the ground. Or, because I don't know. I've never seen a worm snuggle with another. Really, I haven't. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just a reflection of me. Like, maybe I ain't really trying to snuggle with nobody. I don't know what's going on, but I haven't seen that. I would like to see that. I might Google it. I don't know. But anyways, this episode, guys, I'm sure though you've already read it, is Communication Part 2. And for some of you who are super new to the podcast, I believe communication was my first episode. And in that episode, I talked about different things, just like clear communication, being your authentic self, body language, and, things like that. But this one, we're totally going to switch it up with a part 2, because at the end, I did say I was going to do a part 2 to that episode. So let us begin. Now, to start off with part 2, I say this to, a good amount of friends of mine. But before going really into that, I'm going to say to you first, there are other forms of communicating besides words. Okay, what do I mean? Hold that thought. I always tell a good amount of friends of mine, it's like, hey, when we're having conversations or whatever, I always tell them what I just told you. Dude, there's many different forms of communication. We talk in more than just words. And they look at me like, what? Some of them are like, what? What do you mean? And others, they completely understand what I'm talking about. And for some of you, okay, what do you mean by there's other forms of communication? Like, okay, yeah, I can slap somebody and that's me communicating that I'm mad. Well, okay, yeah, you could do that. That's not nice. But, and there's other stuff, But we're talking about something a bit different here. So let us talk about these other forms. They are, 1 is telepathy. 2 is feeling someone out. 3 is intuition. Duh. And then the last one I'm just going to go over is spirit communication. So let's just really dive into these different forms of communication. So the first is telepathy, right? Now, a lot of us are like, we see it on sci-fi, communicating, reading someone's mind, blah, blah, blah. But we actually do that. Like, a lot of us do that and we're just not aware. So here's a few examples. You let me know if this sounds familiar to you. You ever have a conversation with someone and they can finish your convo, completely see and understand the idea that you're portraying, and they can even add on to it? Or how about this? A friend is talking to you about something they're trying to describe and you completely get it before they are even halfway finished. Now, a few examples is with my twin. He's awesome. Now, we do this telepathy thing like it's just normal. We literally can finish each other's conversation. He could be trying to describe the most complicated thing. I don't know. He maybe have a difficult, and I just get it. Like before while he's trying to go through, I'm like, okay, you mean this? Like, I'll just say it. And he's like, yeah. And then there's times where he will just tell me something and he's like, just finish what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, all right, well, you said this. So I'm getting that, you want to turn this around, add this here because you're going through this over here and you're not sure how to move it over here. Am I right? And he's like, yes, exactly. See, I didn't even have to talk. And he'll like pat me on the head. Good brother, you know? He's weird. Now we all have that with, either close friends, and sometimes we can have that with random strangers. And that's just another form of communication. So something simple. Let's just say you're in the work environment or you're talking with someone and they have an idea that they're trying to describe to you. And, there's like some people just want to run things by you because they feel like they can trust you and whatnot. And they may say, hey, I have this idea, but I'm not quite sure how I'm going to go about it, but this is what I have so far. And, without a pen and paper, they may say, hey, I have this idea to, use, I know this is old guys, but I'm just using it for an example. I have an idea to use water as a form of energy. And, you're like, okay, that's interesting. And they may say, with the waves, there's we have all these waves, but I feel like we can do something to it. Like if we put something in the water, we can just make energy from it. And, they may say, now that sounds weird, but it's like if we had some type of boat or some type of contraption out there and we just had something that can measure the waves, that's where I get stuck. And you may just see this contraption in your mind. You may just completely see it clearly where it needs to be. You may just get, okay, if they had it set right here, those ideas will start flowing to you. And that is a form of telepathy because you're connected with that individual. Your energy fields, or for some of y'all who don't really care for that, but y'all energy fields are connected. So you're in a sense getting information, or you both are sharing information through each other when you guys are close to each other. That's a little fun fact right there for you. So you may just see things, you may feel things, or it may just come to you. That's a form of telepathy. And a lot of people, we do that naturally, but we don't really think, oh, that's telepathy. But it is. So, and also, like I said, you may see a few things, you may get a few things, you may hear something, random idea, random suggestion may come to mind just by them trying to describe something to you. But that is, a simple form of telepathy. I can go on and on. Some of us are way more advanced. We can do that, but we're not going to go there. I'm just, broadening your awareness on this. Now, another form of communication is feeling someone out. Now, okay, let me bring this in for you. Some of us can have conversations with others and they can tell us information or their opinion on something, but they can feel completely opposite, from what they're saying. And I experience this a lot when I'm talking to a lot of people. For example, there could be a friend of mine's who tell me, yeah, my brother, well, not my brother, we ain't gonna do that because everybody feels certain, whatever. I have a friend of mine, she's really cool. I like her. She could be different, but she's just, she's different and she's cool. I get along with her, but they feel they literally feel completely the opposite of what they're saying. And I'm like, okay, well, I hear what you're saying, but I feel you feel completely different. There's more to what you're saying. I feel like you're trying to be nice, but what I'm getting is that she ain't all of what you're saying. And I'll tell them what I feel. I feel like, let's be honest, I feel like Diane's an ass. Is that what am I correct? Did Diane piss you off today or something? Is there something about Diane that irks you? And then as I'm talking to them and I'm feeling them out what they just said about their friend, I'm like, okay, well, I feel like Diane does something that really pisses you off, but you just don't know how to say it nicely to her. Is that what it is? And they look at me like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? Why did you do that? And then I have some friends, oh my gosh, stop it. And I'm just like, what? We communicating here. You felt, at liberty to tell me how awesome Diane is, but the way you feel the complete opposite. So be honest, is Diane an ass or is she not? And that's a form of feeling someone out. Now, I went there, but some of us do this. Actually, a lot of us do this. A lot of us do this more than we know. Some of us are wrong. Let me be honest. Some of us are wrong. And that communication right there is, you may feel something, you may be completely off. And if you're not sure, this is where, if you are, you have a good connection with that person who's talking to you, you can say, hey, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel as though when you talk about her, I feel, and, just say what it is that you're feeling, but leave it like in that with, but I could be wrong, and just, tell me if I am. It's just because, and you just say, because the only reason I'm bringing this up is just because this is what I feel when you talk about her. And that may open the door to something completely different. Now let's use this in another area. Another friend could say, we're going to be opposite. We're going to be nice and positive. Another friend could say, hey, I really, I seen this cool idea somewhere. I seen this, I wouldn't say an idea. Let's do something. Okay, it's 2019. Hey, I seen this video on YouTube, and they were dancing, and I thought that'd be really cool. And I can dance a little bit, but I don't know. And they always end it with I don't know. And this is like, and you can feel like, okay, now you're excited. And you can say, nah, man, you're excited about it. I can feel it. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, you brung it up. You talking about you don't know. You excited, but you just don't know exactly how to go about it, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, yes. Like, that's a form of just feeling someone out when you're communicating with people. Because yes, we use words to talk, but there are feelings that we have behind those words. And I know a lot of my female friends are clapping like, yes, a male gets it, because I've been around a lot of different females, and they would say, they would tell me something, but they feel completely different. And I would talk about that, and they would just open the door to a lot of things. And even my male friends as well, especially my male friends, they'll say something and I'm like, okay, I feel this. And I let them finish, and I'm like, okay, you said that, but bro, this is what I feel. And blah, blah, blah. And we get through with it, So I'm not going to keep going with that. You get it. Now, intuition. Now, we hear this. Some of us, we have it. Some of us don't think we have it, but we do. We all do. And intuition can go in so many different ways. And I'm not going to go in all those different ways for you. So I'm going to keep it simple. Now, here we go. Some of us, like I said, are very connected to our intuition. And it tells us how to start a convo, what to do in the middle of a convo. Hell, it may even speak to us while having a convo, and it may speak for us. So I'm going to give you plenty of examples of what I mean. I'm going to give you some from my examples. I can say, and can't tell you, what someone's intuition told them to do to start a conversation with me. So I'm sorry here. But now, a lot of people say, oh, dude, you're really good at connecting with people and whatnot. But part of that gift I would say most of the credit goes to the intuition part, because I'll see a person, don't even know them, but I have a feeling, my intuition may say, hey, you need to go talk to that person. And, actual dialogue in my head is really I don't even okay, why? And my intuition will just be silent. And I know that means, just shut up and do it. I'm like, okay. So I may see someone and my intuition was like, hey, that person, talk to him. I'm like, okay. All right. And I go up to them, start a conversation. Now, they seem different than what I'm used to. And that's not a judgment. I just mean they just seem different. I'm not sure how to approach them. My intuition, will say, mention just that. Actually, yeah, my intuition may say, hey, you seem different. What do you do? And there you go. I started a conversation with that person. So that's one thing. Or, something that I struggle with. I think before I was this bad, there were people who I just felt because of their status, that I'm like, they're really this, so I couldn't talk to them. But my intuition is like, no, they're human. Go talk to them. And, my intuition would tell me, like, don't feel this way. Just go talk to him, start a conversation. Like, hey, I really like the way you blah, blah, blah. And boom, we started a conversation. And as soon as we started a conversation, I seen like, oh, wow, this person's like human. And I think that was actually part of communication part one. I'm not sure. But anyways, that helped me. And we just started a simple conversation. I just seen, oh, wow, this person's human. And the status judgment that I had just like went away. Another thing is what to do in the middle of a conversation. Now, I've had people talk to me on subjects that I literally could not comment because I did not know what to say whatsoever. I had not a clue. Intelligence wasn't helping. And my intuition would literally just pop in and just say, hey, it's going to be okay. And then as I say that, my intuition will start, I guess feeding me things to say. And mind you, this, guys, most of the time, I don't know what the heck I'm saying. My intuition does. So I'm like, all right, buddy, well, let's go with what you're saying, because I clearly have no idea what to tell this girl about her dog that ran away from her from the 17th time. And she feels as though, her father just highly dislikes her bird as well. And she just completely just feels as though because that the dog ran away and that her father hates the bird, she just feels like no one loves her. So I'm not sure what to say to that, because I don't see how that comes back to her not feeling love, but okay. And my intuition may literally tell me, hey, the reason why she feels this way is because she feels as though the dog left her. She feels as though she was abandoned. One. And then I'd be like, oh shit. Sorry, I was drinking water. I didn't mean to cuss. That was my friend's fault. I'm still blaming you, by the way. I drank some water, so it slipped out. I'm like, oh wow, I did not think about that. She may feel abandoned. And then the father hating the bird is just like, oh wow, she feels as though it's something new. The one thing that did stay, the father doesn't like it. And she may feel, the father doesn't like, that individual or people that comes in her life who shows her love and attention. So she feels like she's not loved. I didn't think of that. But my intuition will be on point and will tell me all of these things. By the way, guys, my intuition totally helped me with that example. I did not actually describe someone who went through that. But that example is very, very similar to people who have told me things. So I did not expose anyone on this podcast. We don't do that here, except me exposing myself. Now, yes. So my intuition has helped me in conversations like that where my intelligence and nothing else really worked. My intuition would literally just tell me what to say in the middle of the conversation, and I will understand it later. And it's like, oh, thank God. Now, here's another. Like I said, your intuition may speak for you while having a conversation. And you hear this before where some people will say, something's telling me to tell you this. And then you just start saying it. Or I always say my intuition's telling me this. Or people say, my heart or my gut is telling me this. That's your intuition speaking for you, and you just say it. And, this isn't the part where, you be an ass and you be blunt. But an example, someone could tell me, a struggle that they're going with. And my intuition, I always say, I don't really say my intuition, but I just say something. I say, hey, I hear you, but something's telling me to tell you that what you're going through. And I just tell them exactly what I get. And they'll look at me like, oh my gosh. Yeah. How did you know that? And I'm like, dude, it was intuition, bro. I couldn't tell you. I ain't there with you in life. You know what I mean? I don't walk with you every day. That was complete intuition right there. So yeah, that's another thing. It literally can speak to us, it can speak for us. And then, like I said, it may speak to us while having a convo. That's what I just said. So I went through that example and just it's speaking for us. So that's it does that. And actually, just to kind of really tie in, like I said, yes, someone could be telling you something in your intuition, or you may just get it. Now, this is another thing I wanted to say with the intuition part, is that our intuition will speak to us in many different ways. We may hear something, we may just know it, We may feel it. We may see something. And some of us, we might get a weird taste in our mouth, or we may smell something. Now, not to go too deep with the intuition part, but I just described like some spiritual gifts. Like I'm pretty sure y'all heard of like clairvoyance, but there are others. You got like clairgustance, clairsentient, claircognizant. I noticed some like half of y'all are probably like, okay, he just spoke a whole different language. But I'm just letting you know for your awareness that there are, words for that. Yay, new words. Okay. So the last one is what I just call just spirit communication. And that just, lack of better words, is just really just feeling out one's spirit. But what do I mean by that specifically? Because again, that's another way. You can go many different ways with feeling out someone's spirit. But where I'm going in with this one on the communications part is basically you speaking to those who I'm actually speaking to those who've experienced this, but some of us can read one's spirit and get information on how to talk to them or give them advice on what they are struggling with. Now, for some of us who have no idea what the heck I'm talking about, I'm going to do my very best to kind of bring you into this world for a little bit to see what I mean. So, I'm trying to think of a live example here that I've had with someone without exposing what they've told me. Okay, thank you, intuition. There's an individual I met. We're gonna say his name. We're gonna call him Daniel. And I met Daniel at a previous job, and Daniel was, he was cool. He was quiet. He was a cool guy. And, it was just something about him that my intuition was like, I should talk with him more. And as I got to know Daniel more, I learned like, his life was pretty hard. Like he was going through some hard stuff at home that you would have never guessed when he was at work, family struggles, financial struggles. Mind you, this Daniel is a lot younger than me. Like Daniel's maybe not even 18 at the time. And Daniel was struggling through some things. And so we would talk, here and there. And, one of the things I would notice is like when we would hang out, he would still be in, the same clothes. And I was just like, dude, like, and I just had to ask him, like, why don't you switch clothes? And he was like, these are the only pair of clothes that I have. And I was like, wow, dude, I did not know that, at the time. But, that, he had clothes somewhere else, but because of his situation, he didn't have access to them. So getting to know Daniel and whatnot, it was just something like, it was something about like his spirit, which was just like, okay, yeah, he's struggling, but I get so much more from Daniel. Right now, what I mean by his spirit is like, I felt his spirit, like, yes, he's telling me all of these things, but his spirit literally is saying to me, like, he needs to go through this. He's going to overcome this. These are all things that this is where he's getting his strength from. And it literally was just like, okay, and I was getting this. And as he was telling me like some of his struggles, stuff he was going through, I would tell him what I was getting just from his spirit alone. Like I could just feel it. And now what I mean by I can feel it is just like trying to bring you guys into this. It's just almost like this knowing or this light or flame in and we'll just say like in the dark. And in the dark is just like you don't really know what's going on with the person, but as they talk with you, you sense this flame, and that flame is just telling you or speaking to you or communicating to you in whatever way. And that's the best way I can describe like that spirit communication. So, lack of better words, people have this flame that we can sense, feel, see within them, and it'll just communicate things to us that we just, we can just feel it, or it just comes to us. And though that person is going through whatever it is, and they may not go through some things. All right, let me say that there are a lot of people who aren't going through like struggles, and the spirit will still communicate. But sticking with Daniel here, his spirit would give me advice on his situation because he wasn't at that awareness to do it for himself. And his spirit would just say, hey, it's going to sound weird, but tell me, meaning this me here that's not there yet to hear me, tell me that, exactly what I get. This is, dude, like this. I know this is going to sound crazy, but you need to go through this. This is good. Whatever your purpose is, dude, like you need to experience this. This is, you're getting strength from this. You're going to be able to use this. You're going to help a lot of people with this. And whatever their spirit was telling me, I would, tell them. And it helped a lot. They would get it. Some of them would look at me like, what? We're not going to go with the choice words they gave me, because we're being filtered a little bit. But some of us were like, I don't want you to be filtered. I want to know what they say. Well, here's one example. I was trying to tell someone something, and they looked at me crooked, and they literally, their exact words was like, "Bitch, did you not hear what I just said? Are you broke in the head? Did you not just hear it?" And I was like, oh my gosh, like strong words. And we laughed. That's just me and my friends. We're very like strong. Sorry, I drank some water, guys. But yeah. So I was hoping that I did my best to describe that to you. And some of you guys may do that automatically and not know it. You may just get things from people, from their spirit, and you help them. I know there's people who give a lot of great advice. They may naturally tune into that. And for some of you who may not, that is okay. But me sharing this with you is, broadening your awareness on it, that, there are different forms of communication. So that was just an example that I could use with one's spirit communication. So that's an example. Now, I'm leaving it at those four, but the question is, all right, now that we know all of this, what do we do with all of it? And I've just come to understand is you use it to communicate the best way you can. And I say that because sometimes words aren't enough. And we need that emotional or telepathic and intuitional assistance to get the job done. And this is what I do all of the time when I'm communicating with people. And that helps me connect with people on different levels. Just tying this in is that if I'm talking to you, I'm just letting you know, I'm exposing all of y'all. If I'm talking to you, if I'm connecting with you, just know all of these other forms of communication that I'm sharing with you, they're happening. So you may just be saying words to me, but 99% of the time, I'm feeling exactly what you're saying. I'm able to pick up things. My intuition is telling me stuff. You are telepathically telling me things. And I'm just going to try to really tie all of this into just like a regular conversation or a regular everyday life with people that I meet, is that they will talk to me and they don't know it, but they're saying words, but there's so many other aspects of themselves that are talking to me. And a lot of people think that we're just, flesh and bones, but we're multi-layered beings. We ain't gonna get too deep on that, but just know that. And we communicate. There's energy fields that we all have. If you don't believe in that, that's cool, but just know, the heart is stronger than the energy field of the mind. That's another little nugget in there. But, there's these energy fields and we pick up on these things. There's spirit, like I just said. There's the emotion. All of these, let's just say they all have fields. And I can just, connect with those fields. All of y'all can too, because you know what? Y'all got it and y'all do it automatically. Now, they may say a certain conversation with me, but everything else, their emotions are telling on them. The telepathy, they're telling me things. I mean, just get it in my head. Intuition will help out. Their spirit will just be saying things that are just like, they don't even know. Like, okay, I get what you're saying, but the other things that's going on, they're telling me different things. So let me tell you what's going on with you. And, I don't say it that way. There are some friends I need to say it that way, but they'll tell me things and it's like, hey, I feel you. I really do. And I always say I feel you because I do. I'm like, I feel you, man. I understand, work is this or she does this. But, what I'm getting is that you love her a lot. You just don't know how to communicate with her properly. And you're debating on some things. But that's just what I get. You tell me if I'm wrong. I can say that with some friends. Now, I will say, since we're talking about communication. Yes, thank you. Thank you for letting me say that. Since we're talking about communication, you have all of this, but use it properly in a way of some people may not feel comfortable with you just splatting it out. And I deal with this with at least over 50% of the people that I talk with. Some people are just not comfortable with me just saying what it is. So what I meant by, communicate the best way you can is that if you have that connection with that person and you can do it, just say it. That's okay. Now, for some of us who don't, I advise you to say, hey, this may be a little weird. Always start off that way so they know, because it may be weird to them, normal to you, but you just to prepare them. Hey, this may be a little weird, but can I share something with you? And ask them permission. You prep them for something that's going to be weird and outlandish, and you ask them for permission. If they say, nah, don't worry about it, then leave it alone, And if they say, okay, yeah, sure. Then that's when you say, hey, okay, well, when you were telling me this is what I felt. And you may say that. Now, sometimes, you may not feel something. That's okay. You may, get the intuition. And that's okay too, because you may not even understand what the heck you getting. And share that. Be very transparent. That is the biggest thing that I do all the time. And it took me a long time to do that, but I had to get comfortable. And what helped me with being transparent when it comes to your intuitional conversations is tell them, like what I do, use it in your own words, but I'll tell someone and say, hey, this is so weird. And it may not be weird to you, but I'm just going to say it's weird because I have no idea, what this means to you. I don't get it. But what's coming to me or what my intuition is telling me is X, Y, and Z. And after I say it, I say, now, I don't know if that resonates with you at all. If it does, yay. If it doesn't, forget what I said, because I don't know. But that just came to me. 99% of the time it resonates with them. But I always say that because majority of the time, I don't know what it means for them. They may be going through something and I had not a clue, but my intuition will say that. And that's okay. Communicate that you don't know, but this is what's coming to you. Now, some of you may not have the feeling someone, you may not have the intuitional part just yet, but you may have the telepathy part, They may talk to you and you just get it. And some of us, we do this and we communicate it in the worst of ways. What I mean by that is some of us will get it and then we come off like we know it all. And we don't. And we just be looking like complete asses. And most people are just nice enough to not say it to us. But here is the best way that I found when you have the whole telepathy thing going on with people who ain't on that level with you. Or, y'all don't have that connection. They may tell you something, like, hey, I'm getting this, I'm getting that. And they may have difficulties. Please don't say, oh, just do this, do this, and walk away. Because you just kind of really just you gave the person, but you just kind of shut them down. But you also kind of communicated like, oh, here's what it is. And you're like done with it. You don't want to do that because the person, they'll take that as, oh, okay, well, thank you. And then, you may switch the conversation. Don't do that. So what you do is, person's telling you an idea, and you may just get it off the bat. And you start off with the, interesting. You say something like that, like an indication that you got something. And they may, most of the time when you do that, they are looking at you like, you're humming. And it's like, okay. And then you say, say something like, hey, I'm getting, I hear what you're saying, but this is what came to mind. And then you describe it. And you say, what do you think on that? So what you did there, you said, interesting. You can change up the word, whatever flows for you. You can say that's your indication of you got something. You're communicating to them, I got something. And then they're looking at you and they're giving you that, permission or that, expectation. What do you have? They're asking you without asking you. What do you have? And then that's when you say it, whatever you have, whatever telepathy came through to you, whatever message came to that brain of yours, you say it. And then, please, this is important. Then you say, what do you think though? And so what you do, you acknowledge that you communicated that you got something. You shared it. You acknowledged it. And then you put the power back in their hands because it's their idea. They're trying to talk to you and say, what do you think about it? You may know they already got it, or you may know that they're going to think it's awesome, or you may not. But either way, you're putting the power back in their hands saying, but what do you think about it? You're leaving the conversation open. You're not being closed off. You're not coming off in a way, well, here, this is what it is, and we're done. You're saying, what do you think about it? You're giving that person that energy to, understand what just came to you. You're letting them piece it together. And then that's how you add, that's where a conversation just ebbs and flows back to each other. You don't want to just cut it off because a person feels that and they just feel like, oh, okay. And then they may not want to talk to you or share these things with you because you didn't know that. You may have not known that. I'm not going to say you were being an ass. Some of us are. But you may have not known that. But now you do. You do that, there's that ebb and flow, and they may say, oh, wow, that's a really good idea. Okay, I didn't think about that. I can do this, or I can add that to it. Wow, dude, that's really smart. Okay, I'm writing that down. Okay, but what do you think of this? What do you think of this part? They may say, this is good because they're asking you now. They're asking you, okay, what do you think of this part? Okay, this is what I'm getting. Blah, 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 blah. But what do you think? Always end it, but what do you think? Putting the power back in their hands, giving that back to them. So that is an example when you get your messages, when you're telepathically talking to people and you get stuff, don't come off like you know it all. Say, like you thinking about it, though you may already have it. But the point of the is to communicate to them like, hey, I got it. And that's like, okay, you're communicating to them, letting them know, hey, I got it. And it's on their part to say, acknowledge, oh, wow, okay. And they're giving you permission. What do you think? Now, again, you'll be able to read this the more you do it. Everybody has their own flow. I'm always like, that's interesting. You may be like, whatever. Find your way to communicate, but do that. Since we're getting on to this whole communicating part and how to communicate using these other forms of communication, the proper way you can do that. Now, the spirit communication part, I'm going to highly advise this when it comes to that. Now, some of us who can do this, blessings, now how to communicate this properly, let's get on that. When you're getting stuff from someone's spirit, I feel as though this is just me. You don't have to have this belief or anything with it. But for me, I just feel like this is something that's sacred. Like, this is something that, you don't want to just talk with amongst just random people who can just hear you, because it's just like, this is sacred. And we don't want Sally Ann over there to run her. I'm gonna be honest. Now I got to put some emotions in this, because I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna tell on myself. I don't want to have a conversation with Tom. We're gonna use Tom again. Actually, no. Let's switch it up. I want to have a conversation with Dallas and Sally Ann, as hear me talking about, hear me saying, good stuff about her, and then later on, Sally Ann say, well, I guess, she could do that, but she still, and she just say something negative. That utterly pisses me off. It's just like, I really just want to I won't, but I just really just want to slap the hell out of her. Like, bruh, you ain't have no right to say that. Like, and you ain't even part of the conversation. Like, just shut up. Like, so I know for me, that's just a no for me. I cannot have that conversation, that deep conversation, when there's people around, because they have an opportunity to say something negative or just turn it into something that it doesn't need to be, and we don't want that. So I advise you that you have that literal sorry, I heard something. You have that conversation, alone with that individual, in a place where, you can't be disturbed. People can't hear you, because you're getting something very important that they may need to hear. And you don't want that opportunity to be messed up because somebody was being a jerk, or you were being interrupted or distracted. So I will say, pull someone to the side and communicate that to them. And that is what I have found to be the best way, because it keeps it clean, it keeps it pure, they get the message, and so forth. Now, those were different examples. And the last thing I would say is that the best thing is that some of us may get all this stuff, and sometimes the best route is to remain silent. And you're probably like, wait, what? You just told us all of this stuff, like communicating how to talk with him, and then you saying now the best way may be to be quiet. Yes, the best way is sometimes, you may get that it's best to just not say nothing, because some people just don't want to hear it. And I have experienced that a lot of people just do not want to hear it. And another thing is that it may not be time for them to hear it just yet. I've gotten that too. They just may need to go through it and get the experience and gain what it is that they need to gain. And I have been silent on a lot of things. And some of you may be like, okay, well, that's not cool. If you get something, you should tell them. No, sometimes, guys, it's best not to say anything, because they need to have their own experience of it. And when they have it, then that's when you can communicate with them, because they have that experience. They know, okay, this is what I did. And, they can work with you, versus you just telling them and they don't. It just goes one end out the other. They may not understand. So sometimes it's best, when you get all this information, to just be silent. And I would say, as you do this for periods of time, you'll just get it. You'll know when to say something and when not to say something. You can tell off a person's personality. Sometimes, you may need to move them to the side, and sometimes it may not be the right time to do it. And you may get, it may have to happen, later, the next hour or the next day, or hell, the next year for some people. But that is that, guys. So with that being said, I am ending the episode here. I feel as though that was a lot for you guys to take in, so you might have to replay this or go back some places. And some of you may just get it, like, okay, yeah, that we knew that. But for some of you who didn't, I hope that was enlightening. I hope you learned something different, learned something new with that. And I hope you gained something that you can use this in the workplace, or use this in life, wherever you go. Because now that there's all these different forms of communication, now all of you have some inside stuff, because some of y'all friends do that to y'all and y'all just don't understand how they do it. And boom, I just told you right there. There you go. There you go. So with that being said, guys, thank you for taking your time out to listen to this episode. I greatly appreciate you all. And again, have a happy Friday. Enjoy your weekend, or enjoy whenever you listen to this. enjoy your time. And I will speak with you all on, well, okay, it's Friday. So y'all going to see a new YouTube video Monday. So you'll see me. And then I will have another podcast Tuesday. So that being said, you guys are amazing. I appreciate you. And we will talk later. All right.